Well, we're back here on Inside the Kentucky Derby. Talking the Rebel Stakes, the next stop on the road to the Kentucky Derby Championship Series as the March to the first Saturday in May heads through the end of February. And of course, Inside the Kentucky Derby would not be possible without Woodford Reserve. And I'm going to experience 200 flavor notes in every sip, I think, tonight, Darren. Woodford Reserve, a spectacle for the senses. It's,
Kevin Kirstein, what is bringing on the Woodford Reserve rush for you?
Well, I've got it's Lent season. And so you have to, the
Yes,
Catholics come up with, things that they're giving up. I thought of things that you can add to your diet, right?
So you're giving up sobriety.
I'm going to add Woodford Reserve to my diet. Everyone gives up soda and sugar and hell with that. Why don't I add Woodford Reserve to my diet?
I like it.
Anyway, we're talking Rebel. It's, things are getting going here in the championship series on the road to the Kentucky Derby. And the Rebel's a fascinating race and a lot of different aspects where a full field will head to Oaklawn on Saturday to compete in the Rebel. It's, the key horse I think a lot of people will be focused on. Well, one of the key horses, Verifying, who ran a solid effort last time out in a big speed figure down there at Oaklawn to win a second level allowance race that day. And so, I think the action starts with him, who is made the 2-1 morning line favorite. His stablemate Giant Mischief's the second choice at 5-2. And then Reincarnate, who was transferred from the Bob Baffert barn to Tim Yakteen, is the third choice at 7-2, is a very intriguing prospect and very, puzzling prospect, I think, for a lot of gamblers going over this race. And D, why don't we start from the rail out, because that's where, Verifying is going to have to find some running room from with Florent Giroux, who drew the inside rail. And I talked to Flo at the Risen Star last week, and he was sort of saying, man, I feel like I've been on the wrong end of these Brad horses. I always seem to be choosing the ones that aren't quite ready yet. He rode Tappett's Conquest, and now he's going to ride Verifying, who I think it's a difficult post from the inside, but if he shows the talent from that allowance victory in the speed figure, he's the clear one to beat in this field if he can run back to that race.
I'd love to know a little skinny on the workouts, because both Verifying and his stablemate Giant Mischief appear to be working together in company with two quick back-to-back works of 59 and 4. So that signals that they're going in good form. Verifying. So we can confirm that this was Flo's choice.
That's what Flo told me. He said that was my choice. And they have been working together, and he worked him on, I think it was Saturday they worked as a pair. And Verifying isn't the best workhorse in the world. And so I think putting these two together in Brad Cox's mind, he does this a lot of at times with his horses that aren't the best workhorses. He puts them in company with another solid workhorse to sort of force them to work better. If they put them with a lazier workhorse, and they're going to work lazy. And so Giant Mischief, at least to me, when I've seen Giant Mischief here at Churchill, he's always been a top workhorse. And so Verifying has been, rolling with him in the mornings per se.
Well, he's been well rested. So he's off for the last 6 weeks. He returns to action. He easily handled his fellow Rebel rival Gun Pilot on January the 14th. Sat just off a Gun Pilot that day, and he took over at the top of the stretch, and he was much the best. I went back to look at, what happened in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. And, he got away okay, he saved ground, kind of tipped out 3 wide. And then he was wide, but no punch down the lane.
Mm-hmm.
So what are we going to get? This is start with the race shape of the race. I think we're going to have a fast pace again. Money's down, $1 million on the line. You have a field of 11. Some of these want to go. The next horse we'll talk about is Powerful. It's one of 3 for Steve Asmussen in here. congratulations to him and Scott Blasi and Darren Fleming and his entire team, becoming the first trainer to collect 10,000 career wins. Unbelievable. But, Powerful is interesting because he ran in the Breeders' Futurity and, was nowhere at 48-1 when it was, so Steve brought him back to a sprint going 6.5 furlongs, and obviously he was forward. There was a 4-way scramble for the lead, and Powerful was down on the inside while winning the Ed Brown Society. He kept on. He turned back several threats. So it was a very, very impressive win. I have a feeling that he'll be a part of what will be a quick pace.
And he is, I think, going to be, one of the ones that Florent's going to have to watch out from, or maybe the one who's to his outside. So last time that we saw Verifying in that allowance win at Oaklawn, he was sitting just off of the pace. And I feel like he's going to have to be able to show more versatility to sit, 3-4 lengths off the pace with Powerful right to his outside. If they both break sharp, Flo's going to probably have to take back, which will ultimately force his hand a little bit off of the goings.
I envision Verifying to get that perfect inside pocket trip, but the question is, how will he handle it down on the inside, and will he be able to tip out?
Sure. You mentioned the 3 for Asmussen in here: Powerful, Red Route 1, and Gun Pilot. It's interesting, going and looking at, Brad Cox, who's won more than 2,000 races now, and Asmussen has won 10,000. So these are trainers that are winning thousands of races. Asmussen isn't afraid to run his horses back off of shorter rest, and Brad seems to like to go the 5 to 6 week route in between races with most of his starters. And Gun Pilot is a really intriguing prospect, I think, for the Asmussen camp in Three Chimneys, who's 8-1 on the line. Ricardo Santana getting back aboard this one has ridden him in all 3 of his starts.
And do we have to assume that Ricardo made the choice of the 3 Steves?
I think Steve.
Steve told. I'm sorry. You're right. I'm sorry. Steve chose for him.
And probably Brad chose for Flo too, but
yeah. Fair point.
Yeah. I would have to say he's going to choose Gun Pilot. And I feel like, as of the 3 Steves, I mean, if we're ranking the Steves, I'd rank him 1, Red Route 1, 2, and then Powerful 3.
I can't disagree.
Yeah.
Gun Pilot last time he hopped at the start, was able to save ground, kind of got a pocket trip that we were talking about, almost the one I envisioned with Verifying in the Rebel. But, he was relaxed. He tipped out on the turn. And what I loved, he really closed well in that final furlong. I didn't get the strong gallop out exclamation point note on my trip notes, but that final furlong did get 3 exclamation points. So I love the way that he finished, and he's a son of gun runner out of a Smart Strike mare. This horse could continue to get better, but it's hard for me to, I love the 8-1. I think he's going to get a nice trip just back of the leaders again, but it's hard to get past that Verifying smoked him 2 starts back.
Here's my read on that race is A, I think Verifying freaked that day. And then B, I think maybe we saw Gun Pilot likes to do his running with a target in front of him. And so he was pressured on the pace that day in the Verifying race 2 starts back. And I feel like we saw a different dynamic of Gun Pilot last time out, where he did show that fast closing kick. And so I think he was sort of, the race shape was better last time out, and he's going to get that better race shape, I think, on Saturday, because he'll have to sit from off the pace. He's not fast enough to be on the lead. So I think that's probably what he likes to do, is to have a target in mind.
Well, speaking of targets, Red Route 1, he had a bunch of targets last time out, and he is a deep closer. He comes from well back. He closed into a quick pace last time out, tipped out wide, and he was able to pass Frosted Departure, who ran real hard. We'll talk about him in a bit, but just passed him up in the final 100 yards to get the second place finish to the dynamic Arabian Night. Visually, I thought it was very impressive, and he should get a similar setup for this race. I'm puzzled. Christian Torres has been put up where I just can't get past the fact that you couldn't get a big name out of town rider to come in for $1 million. Asmussen's only ridden him 3 times in the last 60 days, and I don't know. Now he's, albeit the leading rider down there at Oaklawn, but I don't know. I was a little bit surprised by that move.
I'm fade city on this horse, D, and my mindset is someone had to run second to Arabian Night, and I feel like the types of horses in this race, we saw the Southwest was a 1-horse race with Arabian Night, but there are better horses, I think, in this race that will have the same type of benefit of a hot pace, that will have the jump on Red Route 1, and that are probably going to get faster than him. I'm still not sold on the Jockey Club runner-ups as being a key. Besides Instant Coffee, Curly Jack came back, and he was just so the other day down at Fairgrounds in the Risen Star. And so I'm fading Red Route 1. I think there's just better horses and better options in this race that are going to sit that same type of race shape and then be faster if the pace does collapse up front.
Well, let's move on.
Yeah.
Because we're now to the horse that I absolutely love in this spot.
Wow. Okay.
I love Giant Mischief.
Yeah.
And I know Florent Giroux is choosing to ride Verifying. Giant Mischief, I mean, he lost all chance at the start last time out in that springboard mile at Remington Park. He was last in that field of field of 9 through the first half mile, and that first half mile was in 47 flat. He made a sweeping move past 6 of his rivals going into the turn. Then he just kind of flattened out. He went 3 wide, kind of hung. Maybe he moved a little too soon. I don't know. But the start 2 back, I can't get past and I know Arabian Lion has kind of turned out to lay an egg, but the grittiness that Giant Mischief showed on that Future Stars Friday undercard at Keeneland. I just think this horse is really, really nice.
I'm worried about this horse wanting to go a route of ground, and I get it. He's pedigree wise can go a route of ground, but what I saw in his first 2 starts really drew the question mark for me. And I'm willing to sort of throw out the last race just because of what he dealt with at the start and what he dealt with that big middle move in that start. And so, thinking to the Brad Cox camp and some of his better 2-year-olds, it intrigues me and maybe throws up a red flag that Giant Mischief debuted at Horseshoe Indianapolis, going 5.5 furlongs on dirt. And I get it, you got to debut somewhere, and sprinting that day, and then he comes back going 7/8.
That was also a fun race. I mean, he checked.
Yes, he was
a couple of times, and he exploded late.
Yes, he did. Who did he beat?
Correct.
Who did he beat? And I just feel like he's going to be the type of horse that may relish the mile-ish distance. That's not to say he can't win going 1.8 miles. I just think, the way that he's physically built and the way that I've watched him work in the morning, he's going to have to prove it to me that he wants to go this route of ground as his best distance. And so I'm letting him prove it to me in this start. It's not to say that he can't do it. He's by Giant Mischief. He's out of the Giant Oak Mare Vertical Oak.
Steve Asmussen trained her. She won the Grade 2 Prioress. She was a crack sprinting filly and mare. So yeah. I get that point.
Yeah. So that's why I'm passing on Giant Mischief and making him prove it to me. I
love the trip that he's going to get, though.
Yeah, he will. If he's, can show his best going this 1.8 miles distance, he's going to have the perfect trip from behind horses. And Irad Ortiz in town, is no slouch at all for the riding colony.
That's a nice replacement.
That's an okay replacement. He's pretty okay. What about Reincarnate? What do we do with this horse? So he's in the Octane barn now. He's eligible to garner points here in the Rebel, and I can't get over his first two starts being on turf at Del Mar and Santa Anita. Like, okay, we saw Harlow Cap last week, and we both mentioned he's the B teamer out there. And this horse did win the Sham, and he earned a solid figure. But do we think that he's the A team from the West Coast?
Well, how many A's are you going to include? Because there's the A team is a Arabian Night, and everybody else is a B teamer to me.
Well,
but
yes,
that's just
fair.
how I feel.
That's fair.
I'd put him on that B team though.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put too much into the 2 races on the turf. That time of year out in California, there aren't many route dirt races. Clearly, this horse is bred to go long. Got him the experience of going 2 turns, then put him on the dirt. The horse has been competitive. Last time out, he went right to the front. He had a field of 5. I think 4 of the 5 were trained by Baffert.
Mm-hmm.
So it was almost like a little bit of a training race. He went right to that front, 45-2, 109-2, and then turned back Newgate, who was rallying on his outside. So, Reincarnate, and Newgate, of course, came back to win the Robert Lewis in a similar training race,
yes.
type affair. Look, he ran really fast last time, really fast. Got time off, 48 days between starts. I think this is a developing horse that merits watching. But, from a trip standpoint, going to that first turn, does he go right to the front? And if he, or does he raid a little bit in the second flight? It'll be interesting to see. Either way, I can see him being caught maybe 2 wide at a minimum, maybe 3 or 4 wide.
Yeah.
Depending on where he goes. But we'll have to see what Johnny V does.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the horses that's certain to be sort of closer to the pace, I think, is Confidence Game, who, interesting to see Keith DeSormo shipping this one here to Oaklawn. $1 million obviously raises his head, but he's based at Fairgrounds, and Confidence Game and his jock James Graham are going to make the trip. About 8 hours, I think, in the car, but I don't know if he's on the flight of Brad and Flo on Friday night. I think they're flying into Oaklawn, so maybe Jimmy Graham will be able to be on the flight there. This horse, who ran against Instant Coffee in the Lecomte, was defeated 7 lengths that day. You go back in the allowance race when he ran against Rocket Can, who came back to win the Holy Bull, and he defeated Rocket Can that day by 1/2 a length. And I thought that was a very gutsy effort on the front end, where, Rocket Can, in my mind, while I was against Rocket Can and the Holy Bulls, I thought he showed a little bit of hang that day. And clearly he came back and developed as a solid 3-year-old prospect for Belmont off of that race. I don't know what to do with this horse. I really just, I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, this is where you try to get in the head of the trainer. Is it a possibility that he doesn't appreciate the fairground surface down there? There are horses for courses. Some just don't like the track. Maybe, look, last time out, that was a fast pace. He was 3 wide. He pressed Echo again and Bromley all the way. And then he was real weary in the stretch, but he went fast early. And was, again, 3 wide pressing. I mean, they were ding-donging all the way around there. So, look, he's going to be a price in here. He's going to be forwardly placed once again. He's a part of that fast pace, and he's breaking from post 7. So I don't think it gets any easier on Saturday.
And he needs to get faster is the overall response for him. And another one that needs to get faster is Talladega, who did break his maiden last time out down at Oaklawn. He was an $850,000 purchase, and, Confidence Game was only $25,000. So that just shows you the tail of the tape and differences that can be on the road to the Kentucky Derby. And Talladega, who was very well thought of by Into Mischief out of the Yes It's True mare, Thin Disguise. He just simply, I think, needs to get faster and needs to get faster fast. And I don't know if he can make that jump in this spot.
Yeah, it is quite the leap. I'm not sure how bred he is to go a route of ground. Yes, it's true. Mare on the bottom scares me. The horse has gone favored in 3 of 4 starts.
Yeah.
And last time out, broke well and was sent from the inside with Hollow Point and Instant Hollywood. And, it was over a wet, fast track, battled back to win, came back with a nice 48-1 breeze. At least it appeared to be nice on paper from a timing standpoint. And it does attract Flavian Prat. But the horse is going to be every bit of 30-1. And like you said, the horse needs to get a lot faster for me to consider him.
The Paulo Lobo team, I think, cashed a lot of tickets last time out on event detail, or I don't know if they cashed tickets, but I think it was a big sigh of relief when he broke his maiden as impressively as he did at Turfway on January the 27th.
What do you think they were thinking on the first turn?
Oh God. I don't know if they were watching.
He was 4 wide and he was bumped by Aerator in the first turn. And that horse just, came out on that turn and bumped him. And he was really, really wide. I mean, he tracked the whole way around and then made a 3 wide move on the turn for home. His jockey, Gerardo Corrales, he did the old rear view between his legs and kept on. And it was an easy dominant win. Rather than keep him on the synthetic, maybe they're just trying dirt here. A quick breeze down at the Thoroughbred Training Center on paper, 49-2. That's got him set for this return to natural dirt. And if it doesn't work out, from a timing standpoint, you can always come back in the Jeff Ruby Stakes.
Yeah, I remember reading on Twitter that the OXO Equine racing manager and former trainer Don Chatlos was very thrilled after this race. He said it was a big sigh of relief and showing what they thought this horse always was in his early training. And Gerardo Corrales could have ridden the entire 8-race card, I believe, on Saturday at Turfway, and he was named here at Oaklawn in the Rebel and is shipping down to Hot Springs, Arkansas to ride him. So that's what Corrales thinks of this horse as well. It's a big question mark. He's by City of Light out of the Into Mischief mare. He debuted on dirt at Churchill, and, he got bet a little bit that day against Corona Bolt, who ended up winning that race. And so, maybe they thought he was okay on dirt in preparation at the Thoroughbred Center. Now he's going to get a true test.
This is a big priced horse that I would not throw out, and I could include underneath.
Another big priced horse. It feels like this whole second page of past performances are big priced horses. That's Bourbon Bash for Wayne Lucas, the coach. We need to get Coach another Derby win. We need number 5 for Coach. Here's what Wayne Lucas. This is why I love Wayne, or one of the many reasons I love Wayne. This is what Wayne had to say about Bourbon Bash and his last start. He said, that was a very, very good horse that won that race of Steve's. So we were not disappointed hooking into him. We tried him at the 8th pole. The thing with Bourbon Bash is he's real feminine and he hasn't matured yet. If the next 2 to 3 months, he'll get a little stronger, just physically, he's okay mentally. He's got enough tactical speed that we can put him in the race where he belongs. He doesn't need the seasoning. He just needs the strength. He's going to get the strength in the Wayne Lucas training program.
Oh yeah, he's on the program.
He's going to get the strength in the Wayne. I just love how Wayne describes him as feminine.
Look, this horse was second best last time to Gun Pilot and looked good too. And, went 4 wide in the first turn, tugged his rider down the backstretch. He's 3 wide and then full of run. He was just second best to Gun Pilot. He'll be a big price again. If you like Gun Pilot a little bit, and this horse is going to be big balloons, don't throw him off.
Yeah.
Your tickets underneath.
Mikhail Michel, who was one of the top riders in Japan and in international circuits before shipping over to the U.S. She's been doing well down at Oaklawn. Will be aboard him. She rides many of Wayne's horses in his barn, and so she's Wayne's go-to rider. And I've heard a lot of riders in the room saying that, as female riders per se, they think that she has the biggest potential to move forward in the female jockey colony. So a lot of good things that I've heard overall in the jockey colony being said about Mikhail Michel, who was a name that started at Churchill and now has ventured on to the hot spring surface down at Oaklawn. Frosted Departure is in the 11 hole on the outside for Kenny McPeak. Someone had to finish third in the Southwest. He did finish third, and he's danced a lot of dances, 10 of them. This is number 11.
Yeah, but this horse is a fun horse. This horse, they were trying to figure out, does he want route, sprint? Kenny doesn't give up on his 3-year-olds, put this horse in the Southwest. This horse tried to make Arabian Night run, and he chased him hard all the way around, and he worked hard. He fought on. It wasn't until the last 100 yards that Gun Pilot was able to get up for second. It was a sloppy track. Maybe the Frosted liked it in his breeding. I don't know, but all I know is this horse is a big price, and I love little horses that fight hard. And he ran hard last time. He was beaten 7.5 lengths.
Yeah.
But there's no Arabian Night in here. And he'll be a big price. He'll be a big price, but he's also could be a part of that fast pace and be hung out wide again.
Yeah, he absolutely could be. And the McPeak barn proved me wrong last week with Sun Thunder. Maybe their 3-year-olds are just getting better at this time, lumping him in.
Who won the Rebel last year?
The Rebel last year was Un Ojo.
Correct.
Yes.
Un Ojo for Ricky Corville with Ramon Vasquez up. Ethereal Road was second. Barber Road was third.
Remember the track condition that day down at Hot Springs? It was miserable. It was cold. It was rainy. And Un Ojo ended up, it was like a deluge of rain that came in right before that race. And, looking at the weather, we're not good at this, D.
I'm not looking at the weather.
There's a chance.
But we're recording this on Wednesday in advance of Saturday. There's always a chance.
There's
KK.
a chance.
Now here's a question: who was the beaten favorite in last year's Rebel?
That's a great question.
Newgate.
That's
who
right.
Returns or was scheduled to return to action. In stakes, or wait, is he running in the Saudi Cup? Or is he staying at home in California?
No, I think
either
he stayed at home.
They've canceled the races for the weekend at Santa Anita due to heavy weather, so we won't have their Road to the Oaks race, the Santa Isabel, on Saturday. But at Oaklawn, we do have the Honeybee.
Yeah, you got, which is as wide open, I think, as wide open could be in the Honeybee. That'll go as race 10 on Oaklawn's card. And the 3-1 morning line favorite is Grand Love, who finished third in the Pocahontas, sixth in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. Gambling Girl, the runner-up for Pletcher, and the Busanda returns down here. Wet Paint for Brad Cox will probably take some attention after winning the Martha Washington last time out, and McPeak's Defining Purpose, who ran third in the Marshall Washington, as well as Taxed, who was the runner-up. So the top three are all in the Honeybee. How do they run it back in here? I tend to lean, as the Martha Washington, maybe not the keyest of key races into this race. I thought that Towhead, the 2-horse for Maker and Isaac Castillo, off of an allowance win, in the right form. I think the light bulb clicked when this horse finally was able to break her maiden legitimately, is the key. And she, I think, deserves the black type.
Yeah, I mean, she was a part of the maiden special weight on turf at Saratoga last summer, where that starting gate was stuck and they called off the race. And I remember she ran down that big Chad Brown steamer, who I think the Brown camp at that time thought that was the best 2-year-old turf filly in their camp. Towhead goes ahead and beats her, but then it was declared a no contest.
Yeah.
And that was big, because that helps determine earnings to get into races at Kentucky Downs, which are used as preps to get into the Breeders' Cup. They always thought highly of Towhead, but now you'll notice she's now on the main track. She's run well and going to get her opportunity on the Road to the Oaks. Big fan of Towhead.
Yeah. I'm hoping for the camp there that she's able to get some black type here. She did run in the juvenile fillies at Kentucky Downs on the turf and finished a scant nose runner-up to Chop Chop in that race, who I think she's headed back to the turf, as Brad Cox has said the other day. So she may be headed back on the grass instead of the road to the Kentucky Oaks. That's the main action down at Oaklawn. Oaklawn, I think, D, will be the main focus for most people this weekend with Santa Anita canceling. There's not a whole lot of other 3-year-old action around the country that I think people are going to, keep an eye on. But man, the Rebel is going to be one that is going to be a key start on this road to the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, 10 weeks out, and there's a maiden special weight race on the undercard for the Rebel. Race 4 at 234. Kenny McPeak has the favorite in there, Seeking Unity. That horse broke fine last time. Chase Celluloid Hero from the outside, and then kind of got nailed and wore down at the wire by the 4-5 favorite Jeeper. From the inside. Jeeper is owned by Calumet. Calumet has a Triple Crown nominee in here, making its debut for the coach, Wayne Lucas, Gamekeeper, who's big balloons at 30-1 on the morning line for the son of Honorco. But those are 2 Triple Crown nominated horses on the road to the Triple Crown. And if, Seeking Unity can break his maiden in here, I wouldn't be surprised if Kenny McPeak were to throw him into a late road to the Derby race.
Well, the action will, really get going next week with the quartet of races on the road to the Derby. The prep season ends with the John Pataglia Memorial at Turfway, then also featuring the return of Forte and the Fountain of Youth, the San Felipe and the Gotham. So some pretty exciting races next week with those 4 races.
Yeah, an early look ahead. The Gotham looks like it's going to get Arctic Arrogance, Carmel Road, Clubhouse, Ein Clover, General Banker, Lugan Knight, Recruiter, Slip Mahoney, Uncorrelated. How Great Is Nate? I wouldn't be, Brad might consider throwing in a Corona Bolt or a Jace's Road from a timing standpoint. Out west in California, you've got the non-early Triple Crown nominee, Chase the Chaos, likely to test dirt for the first time against Go Rocket Ride, National Treasure, Practical Move, maybe Skinner, maybe One in Vermilion. One in Vermilion is based in the Southwest at Turf Paradise, where they are currently on lockdown because of an equine herpes case. So whether or not that's lifted by the time they run the March 4th San Felipe will determine whether he goes there or maybe just stays in that region and goes in the Sunland Derby. And then, of course, the big, you got the Battaglia as well, ending the prep season. I'm looking at horses maybe like American Speed, Fantastic Again, Miranda Rights, maybe Scooby Quando, Wheels Right Back. The ones that I think they're going to sit on the sidelines and maybe wait for the Jeff Ruby or Gilmore, Wadsworth, and Todd Pletcher sending out Major Dude from turf to dirt. But the big race on March 4th is the return of Forte, who will likely be going up against Blazing Sevens, the Champagne winner. That should be a doozy. Those are some serious runners, and looking forward to those races in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and you look even forward ahead to, some of the other races. Here's the probables right now, Darren, for the Louisiana Derby. Possibly Angel of Empire, who won the Risen Star. Then you have Baseline Beater, Cagliostro, Curly Jack, Instant Coffee, King's Barnes, Litigate, Shopper's Revenge, Tappett's Conquest, Tappet Shoes, and Kenny McPeak still hasn't said what he's doing yet with Sun Thunder and Dennington.
Actually, I think he's running both of them there.
He could, or so there's 2 of them that could go there. But then you have a horse like Two Phils who's going to, jump ship and go to the Bluegrass for Larry Ravelli.
And then waiting in the wings, Arabian Night, probably going to do the one prep now to the Arkansas Derby would be my guess.
Yeah.
From a timing standpoint, 5 weeks out versus 4 staying at home in California. I did read that Steve Asmussen's going to give Disarm a shot to accrue points despite running second in his comeback, the allowance race. He's going to run in that Arkansas Derby. You got Hit Show waiting for the Wood Memorial. And then we'll have to see, how the rest of these races start shaping up.
Yeah. Perrier just read this morning. He won the Hyacinth, is headed to the UAE Derby. Going to give him a test in the UAE Derby for the Japan contingent over there. So should be a fun 10 weeks here leading up into this first Saturday in May. And we'll get going next week with recapping the Rebel. And gosh, there's going to be a lot.
You're headed to the Rebel.
I'm headed to the Rebel.
Do we have any stops in Hot Springs that you have to make?
So
recommendations?
Not really. So here's my plan though, is I'm taking the route. So you can go a couple of different directions down to Hot Springs. You can either
taking Red Route 1.
You could hit Red Route 1. That's a good one.
Thank you.
You could go hit Nashville, Memphis, and then through Little Rock, and then to Hot Springs.
That's my traditional route.
If you want to deal with traffic, I'm doing. You can go directly south, and then you still hit Memphis and go to through Little Rock, and then to Hot Springs. That's out. I'm taking the Western Kentucky Parkway through the hills and the valleys of down through, I think I hit Missouri, and then I hit, all the little towns of Arkansas. And it's only about 20 minutes longer on paper than it would be to go the other route.
You scared me for a second when you said you were going to hit Missouri.
Yeah.
I was thinking you're going to be way out of the way.
I think I hit the Missouri line or something. I don't know. It was weird. Maybe it's Missouri River or something. I'll have to look at my map. But I'm stopping at a place called the Old Gin, which is looks like a truck stop restaurant in Blytheville, Arkansas.
I like it.
And they have plate lunch specials every day. Haven't heard what the plate lunch special is. Today's was hamburger steak. The day before was country fried steak. Hopefully it's something good. I'm sure it will be. They have homemade
You will be
desserts.
clogging the arteries.
It sounds like it's a great place in Blytheville, Arkansas. So that's my stop on the way to Hot Springs. And who knows what I'll get into down at Hot Springs. And, we'll come back with tales and more from the road on Monday.
We will get a review from KK on Monday of the Rebel, along with yours truly. And speaking of reviews, if you'd like to review our podcast, we would appreciate it. Helps get the subscribers up. It's forwardly placed in other horse racing podcasts. You can give us 5 stars. What kind of performance did we do today? You know what? You can't judge it until they run the races on Saturday.
I'm judging my performance. I say I'm a 3 today.
I feel like a 4.
Yeah.
I always feel like a 4.
Yeah, I'm a 3 today. So boost our egos a little bit. Give us a 5, and then maybe we'll come back with Flush Twin Spires accounts on Monday. So again, you're on Giant Mischief in the Rebel.
Yep.
I'm on Gun Pilot in the Rebel. We'll see who's right come Monday, or we could be both completely wrong again. It wouldn't surprise me either way. Thanks for listening to Inside the Kentucky Derby, and we'll chat again on Monday.